Okay, so you want to buy a zoo. Rare animals. A ticket gate. Children waving at giraffes. Here is the strange part. The $120 federal license that lets you open sites on top of $423 million in animals you don't really control. You think you're buying animals. You're buying a daily care obligation with a ticket booth attached. The cheapest paper. The most expensive mouths. The license is a door, not a wall. San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance spent that $423 million running its operation in 2024. The same animals their $120 receipt covers. And here is where the gate goes. Admissions and memberships brought in $202,637,000. Payroll ran $200 to $2,569,000. The ticket feeds the staff. The animals eat after that. The crowd pays the people. The people feed the tigers. Nobody's paid the tigers yet, and that license still won't protect you from the state. So call this the living inventory. It draws the crowd. Then it owns you. Let's start with the menu, because there is more than one way in, and every one of them comes with mouths already open. At the bottom, there's the Craigslist tier. Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge listed at $350,000. It prices like a small business. It closes like a custody transfer. You're not buying a building with a lock on it. You're inheriting animals that need a home before you need a single customer. At $350,000, you might think you're getting a hobby with admission stubs. You're getting a feeding schedule that started before you ever saw the listing, and it does not pause while you read the contract. You can't return what you don't like. You can't put the slow seller on clearance. Final sale on that one is unclear. The animals were never unclear. Move up. Bayou Wildlife Zoo sold in 2020 for $3.6 million. But it was listed at $7 million first. Sit with that. The price did not drop because the land got smaller. It dropped because price discovery in this market takes years, because the buyer has to qualify for the animals, not just the acres. Half the value evaporated while the listing sat, because there is no quick buyer for a place where the inventory has a heartbeat. The deed transfers fast. The obligation never goes on sale. Next, the regional going concern. Aloha Safari Park, listed at $5 million, 73 acres, real estate, and the operating business and the animals all in one wire transfer. The listing advertises admissions, feed cups, the gift shop, field trips, group events, holiday events. The cute animal turned into half a dozen separate checkout points. Read it and you start counting the money, then read it again and you notice what isn't there. The right to operate isn't in the wire transfer. You still need that USDAA PHIS Class C exhibitor permit on your own before the place is cleanly yours to run. The land is for sale. Permission isn't included. At the top, Zootastic Park, asking $16 million, 186 acres in North Carolina. Asking, not a clearing price, because there are barely any comps to test it against. Every acre adds maintenance. Every animal adds a line on the vet bill. The bigger the dream, the bigger the standing cost the day after closing. You can pay $5 million for a zoo and still be subordinate to a $120 license, a vet note, and a transport crate. Notice what every tier shares. The price tells you about the land. It tells you nothing about the mouths, and the mouths come with all four. So you close. Now you ask permission to show life. The acquisition path is short to describe and long to live. Buy the land, the business, the animals, or take control of a non-profit operator. Then file for the USDAA PHIS Class C exhibitor license. $120. The license is a gate, not a shield. Then satisfy state and local animal care law, which the federal license does not override. And if you want the trophy version, real credibility, the badge that makes donors trust you. There is ASA accreditation, reviewed every 5 years on a calendar that does not care how busy you are. The review comes back around whether your last year was a triumph or a disaster. There are only 240 accredited institutions and 14 related facilities, and the slot you want is already full. Then the first bill arrives, and it arrives before the guest line forms. Look at San Diego's 2024 cost stack, and you will see what you actually bought. Salaries and benefits, $202,569,000, nearly half of everything the place spends, because the famous animal is, underneath, a labor machine. Wildlife nutrition, $4,904,000, feed that shows up whether the forecast says sold out Saturday or steady rain. Occupancy, $17,086,000. Repairs and maintenance, $12,182,000. Depreciation, $37,764,000. You imagined bricks and tigers. You bought a payroll and a feeding schedule. And here is the scene nobody puts in the brochure. The owner walks past the donor wall holding a clipboard, while outside the giraffe barn heater hums on a budget line you did not read. The carnivore diet has to be signed off by hand every morning before a single ticket sells. Not the lions signing it, the owner. You arrived to be the custodian of living wonders. You are the one initialing the meat order in the rain. The receipt is small, the obedience is not. So if the animals are the cost, where's the business? It's not the animals. It's licensed trust, converting attendance, memberships, food, merchandise, parking, donations, grants, and public money into cash. Fast enough to outrun the living inventory before it eats the whole thing. Every animal attracts a guest, then demands care after the guest leaves. Watch the numbers prove it. San Diego's admissions and memberships in 2024 were $202.637 million. That's the biggest visible wallet. Now hold it next to salaries and benefits, $202.569 million. The gate, the single largest source of money in the building, almost exactly covers the payroll. Nearly the entire ticket exists to pay the people who care for the animals. After that, you're still hungry, and you haven't fed a single creature yet. That's why they don't sell you a ticket. They sell you the day. San Diego's auxiliary activities, food, gifts, the spending that happens between exhibits, brought in $138.283 million. The Bronx Zoo tells the same story from the other side. Gate and exhibit admissions there were $44.966 million. Bronx Zoo expenses were $96.641 million. The flagship gate covered about 46.5% of the flagship's own costs. Less than half. The famous animals by themselves don't pay for the famous animals. So what fills the gap? The plush wall and the parking lot. Restaurant, merchandise, and parking at WCS brought in $36.382 million and paid out $21.474 million, leaving a $14.908 million spread. The teddy bear helps feed the carnivore. And then the part that should make you uneasy, WCS received $61.193 million from the city of New York. A zoo can be a gift shop on the front end and a municipal line item on the back end. Donations matter too. San Diego logged $59.671 million in contributions, and WCS recorded $63.317 million in private grants. You need affection to show up as revenue, on time, in dollars. The child who waves at the giraffe is the same person you need to write a check on the way out. Now the seduction. San Diego's total revenue and support hit $445,438,000 against $423,147,000 of expense, an operating surplus of $22,291,000, roughly 5%. A billion-dollar asset base, $862 million in net assets, running on a 5% cushion. The line is long. The cushion is thin. So who actually wins here? Not the buyer chasing animals. The winners hold what the animals sit on top of. San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance carried $1,046 million in total assets, $862,069,000 in net assets. WCS held $1,314 million in assets, $942,222,000 in net assets, and in 2024, it ran a $21,771,000 deficiency, then let the balance sheet absorb it. A weak owner facing that number files for bankruptcy and starts calling rescues. These institutions just kept going, into the next year, the next gala, the next city check. That's the trade. The winner doesn't own animals. The winner owns trust, land, donor lists, a relationship with the city, a name people give money to, and enough balance sheet to survive a bad month or a bad year without selling a single giraffe. And the accreditation is scarce. As of March 2026, there are 240 AZA accredited institutions and 14 related facilities. Scarcity props up the trust. The review still repeats every 5 years. The winner owns patience, the private buyer doesn't, and the living inventory can wait you out. Which brings us to how this actually ends, because it ends in 3 different ways. First, you run out of money before you run out of animals. Wildlife Way Station closed suddenly in 2019. Financial difficulties, with nearly 500 animals still depending on it. 42 of them were chimpanzees, among the hardest to rehome on Earth. Closing the business didn't close the mouths. California had to supervise the relocations. They weren't finished until 2022. 3 years to empty a place that took an afternoon to shut. The owner believed locking the gate stopped the losses. The feed bill kept arriving for 3 more years, addressed to whoever was left holding the keys. The register closed. The animals did not. Second, the license you trusted turns out to be a door, not a wall. Natural Bridge Zoo had 99 animals seized in 2023. The courts affirmed 71 of them forfeited and held plainly that a USDA license did not exempt the zoo from Virginia's animal cruelty law. You thought the federal paper protected the collection. The state took it anyway. The animals were the evidence, and the evidence walked out. You owned the exhibit right up until it left in a steel transport crate, your inventory, loaded by someone else, onto a truck you didn't call. The license was not a shield. Third, the quiet one. You try to sell, and you discover the exit is the slowest part. Bayou listed at $7 million and cleared at $3.6 million years later because in zoo sales the buyer has to qualify for the animals before anyone signs. You can't dump the inventory in a downturn. There's no liquidation sale for a giraffe, no clearance rack for a chimpanzee. The land has buyers. The collection has caretakers, and they're rare. The owner who needs out fast learns the worst lesson last. The thing that drew the crowd is the thing that won't leave. The slowest exit is the one that keeps you there. 3 different failures. 1 constant. The living inventory remains after everything else stops. So what does a good year look like? 10 revenue streams running at once. Admissions, memberships, the gift shop, the food, the parking, the donations, the grants, the city checks, the school trips, the holiday events, all of it outrunning fixed care cost, with accreditation clean and donors writing. The trust stays intact, the inspection passes, the weather cooperates on the Saturdays that matter. Every one of those has to hold at the same time. Miss one, and the surplus that was already only 5% turns into someone else's deficiency to absorb. And a bad year? It rains. Attendance dies on the one Saturday you needed. There's a scandal, or a failed inspection, or donor fatigue, or a seizure threat. The grants get quieter, revenue drops, and the carnivore diet clipboard arrives on schedule anyway. Payroll runs, the vet bills, the giraffe barn heater stays on. The 5-year AZA calendar still turns. Attendance changes. Hunger does not. And the one thing you cannot do, the thing every other business can, is close for the season and wait it out. The restaurant down the road locks its doors in January. You feed 42 chimpanzees in January, in February, in the year your gate brought in nothing. Here's the mistake. You thought you bought animals. You bought a living obligation that you cannot pause when sales fall, cannot sell when the market is soft, cannot lock up and walk away from. And that same obligation is the thing generating the trust that generates the revenue that pays for the obligation. You bought both ends of the same animal. The giraffe sells the ticket. The giraffe also eats the ticket. And the $120 receipt that let you in is the one piece of paper you can't hand back. The gift shop closes at 5. The carnivore diet clipboard does not.